Background: we have been dating for almost 6 months after meeting on Bumble. Things have been going well, but definitely more little arguments, if I were to estimate about a dozen, than I would like. She is a people pleaser and is incredibly sweet and giving, often to her own detriment with one of her friends that sometimes takes advantage of that. The people pleaser aspect is important to this story. She is very, very sensitive, which I do like some of what comes along with that. But it can also be very difficult, as she often seems to read into what I say in a negative light. For example, she started taking tennis lessons so that she can play tennis with me. One day she told me she listened to a relationship podcast, and it talked about how it is really good to find a new hobby together as a partnership. Then I blurted something along the lines of, "That makes sense. That way you can both be starting off fresh together, instead of one already having an established group they play with." This ended up with her feeling like I told her that I wish she wasn't taking lessons and that I had no interest in playing with her whatsoever. I assured her that was not the case and told her that was one of the many reasons I love her, because she is trying to pick up one of my interests. Her previous relationship was for more than 6 years with a guy that she ended up breaking it off with. I am still not fully clear on why she broke up, but she mentioned that it was in part due to his irresponsible spending habits. Issue at hand: she told me last week that her ex had reached out to her looking to reconnect. She then told him that she was in a relationship, and I thought that was the end of that. 1 week later, she calls me asking how I would feel about her meeting up with her ex for a coffee, as he is struggling, and, in fact, some of his family and friends even reached out to her, vouching for him. I then told her that I wouldn't be very comfortable with that, seeing as it is very clear that he wants to get back together with her, as he explicitly said this. She mentioned that he is really hurting and she still cares about him, as he's a good person. I told her that he is hurting because he is sad that they broke up and she found a new partner. It is not her responsibility to care for his heartache in this scenario. Then I asked her if she is having second thoughts about our relationship and thinking she may want to get back together with him. I also told her that I did not want to be her second choice. She was adamant that was not the case and said that she was going to get back to him and tell him no, and that she was then going to block him. I told her that I appreciated that she was honest and upfront about this difficult conversation. We said our love yous and then hung up. I would have no issue with her meeting up with an ex if he were a friend, but my issue is that he has specifically said he wants her back. I don't want my partner meeting with someone one-on-one that is trying to convince her to come back. I am now left with a pit in my stomach as I'm sitting here trying to rationalize why she would want to meet with him, if not because she was having second thoughts about breaking up with him. She is, as I've said, a very sweet woman that would do anything for anyone, and she is a people pleaser. I guess on the other hand, if she was actually having second thoughts and wanted to get back with him, she would probably not have told me in the first place, right? What do you think? Am I overthinking this, or is this something to be worried about? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Hello. Honestly, this is something really tough to experience. It sounds like you enjoy being with her, and things have been going well so far. However, the issue about the ex is not something to blow past or ignore, especially if he has the intention of getting her back and family and friends are supporting it. For yourself, you need to set your own boundaries as to what you can and cannot accept in this relationship. Seeing how you already feel uncomfortable and not okay with the idea of her meeting up with her ex, this is a sign of what you need in a relationship. Even if you trust her, you still need to be able to feel safe and secure in a relationship with someone. I would say, have an open conversation with her to let her know how you are feeling about this and communicate that you are not okay with them meeting up. Then see whether she respects how you feel and the boundaries you have. Otherwise, it might be wise to reconsider the relationship, given that she values the past relationship over your current one. Hope it all works out well for you. Feel free to reach out if you need more support. Comment 2. This all played out over the last week into our 6-month relationship. Had I thought she was still talking with an ex early on, which she wasn't, then I agree, I wouldn't have gotten involved. Do you think it's reasonable for me to ask to see their text messages? Say something along the lines of, I have been feeling very uncomfortable about this situation. Is there any way that you would be willing to let me read your text messages to resolve my anxiety? I'm sure she will interpret the request as me not trusting her, which I do trust her. But at the end of the day, it would be an easy resolution to the situation. I would either see her telling him that she has a partner and isn't interested and we are good, or I would see something else and then I would know we aren't. Either way, at least I would know where we stand. Now, for the update. It's been almost a week since the conversation about her ex. I've been trying to keep things normal between us, but it's super awkward. We went to her friend's birthday party last night, which I thought would be a good distraction. The party was at a local bowling alley with loud music and lots of people. Kinda hard to be in your head when the place is packed and everyone's trying to knock down pins, right? Well, not for us. I noticed she was texting under the table during the party. It was constant. Like, I've never seen someone so dedicated to a group chat. I asked her who she was texting, and she said it was just a group chat. That didn't seem to be the only thing on her mind, though. She kept looking at her phone, which felt off to me. I mean, I get it. People are glued to their phones these days, but this was different. After a while, she went outside to take a call. Just like that, she got up and left. I waited for her to come back, but felt uneasy. It felt like she was on the phone with someone important. When she returned, she looked a bit flustered. I could tell something was up, but what was I supposed to do? Make a scene in front of her friends? I let it go for the night, trying to focus on having fun. At the end of the party, her friend asked if we were going to the next one next month. I said we'd see, but Olivia said she would definitely be there. That felt a little too eager to me, but again, who was I to question her in front of her friends? On the way home, I asked her about the call. She said it was just her friend needing advice about a breakup. I didn't press further, but felt like something was off. The next day, I went to grab some lunch at a local diner. I overheard a couple of guys talking about Olivia's ex. They mentioned he was back in town and trying to reconnect with people. That name was like a punch to the gut, and it didn't help that I was just trying to enjoy a burger. I didn't think much of it until I saw Olivia's phone light up with a message from an unknown number. I waited for her to open it, but she didn't. I asked her about it, and she said it was nothing important, just a random number. I decided to drop it, but curiosity was eating at me. Like, I was this close to hiring a private investigator to figure out what was going on. A few days later, we went to her parents' house for dinner. Her mom asked about our plans for the future during dinner. I mentioned wanting to travel more, and Olivia seemed distracted, like she was in another universe. After dinner, I went to the kitchen to help clean up. I overheard her talking to her mom about needing to figure things out. That threw me for a loop. I tried to brush it off, but couldn't shake the feeling. That weekend, we went to a park to relax and talk. I brought up her ex again, wanting clarity on the situation. She got defensive, saying I was being paranoid and overthinking. We argued, and she said I was making her feel trapped. That's when I suggested we take a break to think things through. I was just so tired of feeling like I was going crazy. She agreed, saying she needed space to figure out her feelings. On the 5th day of our break, I got a text from Olivia. She wanted to meet up to talk about everything. We met at a quiet coffee shop, and she seemed serious. She explained that she didn't want to lose what we had. She told me her ex had been reaching out, but she wanted to focus on us. She said she had a weak moment when she went outside at the bowling alley, but that was it. That she had told him she was happy with someone else and didn't want to reconnect. I don't know what I was expecting, but hearing her say all that made me feel a bit relieved. She said she wasn't answering his calls and had blocked him on everything, but she admitted that the damage was done because he had gotten a hold of her friend's number and was now texting her through that. I mean, seriously, what a loser. She didn't think her friend was going to give him her number, but she did. It was just to warn her that he was back in town, but still, I asked her why her friend would even do that. Olivia said she was just trying to be nice because he was trying to reconnect with a few people from their hometown. I couldn't believe that. I mean, we all know what he's up to. It's not like he's trying to be friends with everyone. I told her I thought that was a really poor choice on her friend's part, and she agreed. Olivia said she was going to have a talk with her about it. I told her that I appreciated her honesty and felt like we should try to start over. I knew it was going to take time for the trust to build again, but I was willing to put in the work. She said she felt the same way, and we left the cafe feeling a bit lighter. It's a work in progress, but I'm hoping we can get back on track. Mini update. After our conversation at the coffee shop, Olivia talked to her friend about sharing her ex's contact information. The friend apologized, saying she didn't realize the potential harm. Olivia also mentioned she hadn't thought much about her ex before he reached out again. She realized how her past might affect us and committed to being more transparent going forward. I've met her friend since then, and we discussed the situation. We're currently focusing on rebuilding trust and moving forward together. Am I the idiot for telling my depressed girlfriend to apply to a better school and then getting blamed for her panic attacks? My girlfriend is bright and driven, but deeply depressed and prone to shutdowns. She dropped out of art school as an upper junior a long time ago in the midst of family and personal chaos. Now, 6 years later, she's completed an associate's degree and wants to finish a bachelor's. The problem is that she doesn't like the only school that accepted her, a high-quality but less exciting local public college. The problem isn't her grades. She graduated summa finish laude with glowing recommendations from multiple professors. I told her while she was applying that a full-time job plus a full course load and an internship would make it nearly impossible to create a good application anywhere. She chose to continue full throttle anyway and missed nearly every deadline. She specifically chose not to apply to the local Ivy League institution because it would be embarrassing, in her words. Now she is in tears every single day as she feels her potential is being wasted. It doesn't help that the public college has horrible bureaucracy and has messed up her credit evaluation. For the record, I agree that she could get into a better institution if she put her mind to it. She has been in deeper moments of crisis, shouting at me and telling me I didn't help enough, but I just am not sure what I should have done without her giving herself the space to work on it. A few times I've suggested applying for the coming spring, but she just starts self-deprecating and shutting that down. She begs for help and accuses me of getting in the way of her dreams, but then turns down every specific offer of help. I am feeling really drained. I want to know what personal changes I can make to stop feeling so drained and better support her. When I began writing this, she was on her way out to the gym. She stopped right at the front door to turn around and complain about the school situation. This escalated into telling me how ugly she thought she was. I tried reassuring her, and she opened her phone and started going through pictures of herself from years ago to illustrate her point. This escalated into calling herself a failure with nowhere to go in the world, which then escalated into throwing her phone and making jokes about unalived. Finally, I couldn't take it and had a panic attack, at which point her mood changed and she began kissing me all over, at which I could only cringe and then left for the gym as if nothing had happened. This all took over 3 hours. There are, of course, many sides to every story. Here are the ways I give her a hard time. I am a teacher and the generic book smart type. She has significant trauma with school, and especially with her father, who used to shake her and call her stupid. She really doesn't like my intellectual show-offy manner. I try to minimize this and talk about work in general, but I know that I haven't done enough. I could certainly be a better listener and be more responsive to her when she spirals. I know that I am supposed to remain calm and reassuring, but it does hurt. The result is that I am at first robotic and then despondent. I still haven't found the best way to be supportive. I myself have rather low self-confidence. I know this is really unattractive and not very healthy to be around. There is surely much more that I don't see about myself. How should I support her? To what extent should I be helping her? I can't start these applications for her. That would be a breach of ethics. But should I just accidentally do so anyway? This is important to me, and I want to make sure she has a good outcome. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your girlfriend is in serious need of a therapist and a treatment plan. This isn't a problem with school or how she looks or anything else. Her mental health is very quickly deteriorating, and that's what needs to be addressed, not the schooling or anything else. Tell her, I am really worried about your mental health, and you bringing up unalived is extremely frightening to me. I need you to start working with a therapist to help you find a way through this. I also recommend a therapist for yourself because you also need support through this. Comment 2. That is a shame for her, but you need to step back and establish a boundary with regards to her educational difficulties. You can't fix this for her, and trying to do so is making you feel resentful. We can only help our partners so much, but at a certain point, we need to be clear that while we can offer sympathy, we cannot be their assistant, therapist, or life coach. Now, for the update. I'm back with an update about my girlfriend moving out and wanting to take a break from our relationship. So, a few days after the whole incident with my girlfriend, Olivia, and her having a panic attack and going to the gym, we went to a family barbecue at my aunt's house. It started off really nice. Everyone was laughing and sharing stories and just having a good time. I noticed Olivia was a little distant, though. She was sitting away from everyone else, just scrolling through her phone. I thought maybe she was just tired or something, so I didn't think much of it. Then, something weird happened. She got a text, and I could see her expression change. She just got up and left the table without saying anything. I was curious, so I followed her. I found her in the backyard talking quietly on the phone. I tried not to eavesdrop, but I overheard her mentioning something about applying for scholarships at different schools. She hung up really abruptly and turned to see me standing there. She looked startled and just brushed it off, saying it was nothing important. I let it go, but it was just odd. A few days later, Olivia asked if she could borrow my laptop for a few hours. I thought she was just working on her application, so I agreed. A couple of hours later, I walked by the room and noticed she was still on social media. I casually mentioned it, and she snapped at me, saying I didn't understand how hard it was. That just made things worse between us. We started having more arguments about her procrastination, and I was feeling really drained. It wasn't just at home either. During a weekend visit to my parents, Olivia and I had a heated discussion about her future plans. She accused me of not believing in her and raised her voice in front of my family. It was so embarrassing. My mom had to step in to try and calm her down. Olivia ended up storming out of the house, and I was just left feeling humiliated in front of my family. Later that week, I found out Olivia went to a friend's birthday party without telling me. I saw the photos on social media of her having fun with a group of people I didn't even know. When I brought it up, Olivia just brushed off my concern, saying she needed space and time with friends. It was getting really hard to be around each other. During a family dinner for my brother's birthday, the topic of future plans came up again. My brother jokingly asked when Olivia and I would get engaged, and I could feel myself getting tense. Olivia laughed it off, but I noticed her expression change for a moment. It just felt like everything was on the verge of coming out. A week later, Olivia received an acceptance letter from a prestigious university far away. I thought we would celebrate, but she just seemed anxious about the move. She said she didn't want to leave me behind. I suggested we could figure things out together, but she just dismissed the idea. Things were getting worse between us. Olivia started packing her things without even discussing it with me. One night, I came home and found her upset, sitting on the floor surrounded by boxes. We had this long argument about our future, and she finally said she might need to focus on herself. A few days later, she moved out without telling me first. She left a note on the kitchen table explaining she needed to prioritize her education and that she couldn't handle our relationship. I was just devastated. I texted her to talk, but she didn't respond for days. When she finally did, it was just a short reply saying she was busy settling in and needed time apart. I just don't know what to do anymore. She's so adamant about focusing on herself, and I guess I just have to respect that. I really want to be there for her, but it feels like she doesn't want me to be a part of her life anymore. It's just really hard. Am I the idiot for refusing to have a heart-to-heart with my half-sister and causing a scene at my dad's birthday dinner? I grew up with both my parents and my younger brother. My dad was married before my mom and had 2 kids, a son and a daughter, both of whom are about 10 years older than me. Not super relevant, but my parents divorced when I was in college. My understanding is that my dad wasn't perfect, but his ex was vindictive and fed my half-siblings a bunch of misinformation so they'd hate him, which worked for a while. Eventually, my half-brother reconciled. I guess my half-sister did, to some extent, because I met her and her husband when I was a teenager. It was easy to form a friendship of sorts with my half-brother because we had similar interests. I think his sister never fully came around to my dad, which is whatever. The brief version is that I have a good relationship with my half-brother, and for most of my life, no contact with his sister. Recently, my younger brother got all 4 of us together. It was a good time. I enjoy hanging out with my brothers, and the half-sister seemed fine enough, besides lightly criticizing my dad, despite not talking to him for decades. Her son was very nice, and I thought we all had a good time. At the end of the night, I was completely blindsided by her suggesting we should have a heart-to-heart of sorts. I know my younger brother had a conversation with her about, I honestly don't know what. But anyway, I have no investment in that relationship. I absolutely meant no offense, but I told her I didn't feel it was necessary, although we could if it would make her happy. I definitely admit that seems a bit harsh, but I didn't intend it to be. I have no problem with her, but I also don't have the emotional and mental bandwidth right now to try to form a new relationship, let alone one I don't care about. And I don't feel compelled to put myself out for it. I'm nearly 40. She's never made an attempt at a relationship before, and that's fine. I only mean to say that she didn't spend her life pining for a relationship with her half-sister, and that absolutely does not hurt my feelings. She was evidently very offended. My younger brother invited me to another gathering, and while I'd love to go, I don't want to deal with her. She's rather dramatic, and I anticipate an issue with us both being there. My ideal scenario is getting her to understand that we are basically strangers, and I like hanging out with her, but we're not family, and I don't care for us to be. This kind of makes the gathering complicated. For what it's worth, I understand how this sounds, but I hold no animosity towards her. It is truly complete indifference, and I have too much on my plate right now to pretend to care. So, I'm not sure how to proceed with the invitation. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I think you can just hold your ground. It's not a bad idea to keep these boundaries. Continue to say that you have no interest in developing a relationship with her, and if it gets really bad, you can say you share nothing but DNA and don't really know her at all. If she's an adult and can't handle that, you can remove yourself from the situation. Comment 2. Thanks. My biggest concern is my brother's comfort with the situation, and I'm worried she will be intentionally cold. I suppose if she is, I can just head out early and wish everyone a good evening without making a thing about it. But I'm glad to hear someone doesn't think I'm being rude or cruel. Now, for the update. A week after I posted here, I got this text from my younger brother about a family dinner at our parents' house. I was like, I just can't. I really can't. But it was our dad's birthday, and we always did this, so I didn't want to miss it. The dinner was to celebrate our dad's birthday, a tradition that included all siblings. And by all siblings, I mean me, my younger brother, our half-brother, and our half-sister. The last one always makes things complicated, but I was willing to deal with her for my dad's sake. My younger brother, the sweet child he is, even went the extra mile and told me that our half-brother was also coming, which made me feel a bit more at ease. I really liked our half-brother. He was the only one from our blended family I had a close relationship with. I was super excited to see him. My half-sister responded to the invite with a passive-aggressive message about wanting to clear the air. Oh, heck no. I really did not want to deal with that. I literally texted my younger brother, like, "Are we really doing this?" And he was like, "Let's just ignore her for the night." I was skeptical, but I agreed. When I got there, the atmosphere felt tense. Everyone was polite, but the distance between us was obvious. The half-sister arrived late, making a dramatic entrance with her loud laugh, drawing all the eyes to her. Like, she walked into the room and was like, "Ha, I'm here!" And I was like, "Oh my God, just sit down already." This was not the time. I spotted my half-brother, who looked visibly uncomfortable, sitting at the far end of the table. I shot him a smile, and he awkwardly returned it. Dinner began with small talk about the weather, and we all pretended like we were interested. But then, the half-sister steered the conversation toward personal topics. She asked why I had declined her invitation for a heart-to-heart, clearly aiming to provoke. I responded calmly, saying I preferred to keep things simple. She looked frustrated, and I could see her clenching her jaw. I knew things were about to go down, so I quickly changed the subject to ask my dad about his work. The dinner went on, but the awkwardness was still there. My dad brought up funny childhood stories, and that relieved some of the tension for a moment. But then, the half-sister suddenly interrupted, insisting that all siblings share their feelings about growing up. I was like, no way in hell am I doing that. So we all just stayed quiet. As the night went on and dessert was served, the half-sister made a toast, targeting me again. She claimed that real family should support one another and share openly. I took a deep breath because there was no way I was letting this slide. So, I made a sarcastic comment about how real family doesn't force conversations. This sparked a heated argument. She accused me of being cold and unfeeling. My dad tried to mediate, but she refused to back down. My younger brother looked uncomfortable and tried to diffuse the situation with jokes, but they weren't working. She grew more aggressive, calling me out for my indifference. I decided to stand my ground, saying I had no obligation to engage. The atmosphere got even more awkward, leaving the table in silence. I could feel the eyes on me, but I didn't care. As the dinner ended, I excused myself to the restroom, needing a moment away. While washing my hands, I overheard the half-sister complaining to my dad about perceived favoritism. I rolled my eyes so hard. Coming out of the restroom, I overheard my half-brother suggesting we should all just move on. I returned to the table, ready to leave, when the half-sister made one last jab about family loyalty. I shot back, saying that loyalty isn't forced, it's earned. This caused a wave of shock around the table. She looked furious, while my dad just sat there, speechless. I walked out, leaving behind the chaos. They all knew how I felt. I had a right to be mad. I was done with her crap. After all that, I decided to plan a separate dinner with just my younger brother, excluding the half-sister. The following week, I got a text from my half-brother, thanking me for my honesty. I learned the half-sister had been gossiping about the family drama to others, which further isolated her. My half-brother told me that some of our extended family had actually reached out to him, asking if we were all okay. We planned a small gathering with friends instead, celebrating my newfound freedom from family drama. I was all for it. I'm still processing everything, you know? I mean, it's like this huge weight has been lifted. My half-brother and I are closer now, and it feels good not to be walking on eggshells. It's crazy how much family dynamics can change, and honestly, I'm all for it if it means no more of that half-sister drama. I'm just hoping it stays this way. I'm also really looking forward to hearing from everyone about their experiences with family drama, because I know I'm not the only one. I read all the comments, so please share. Edit. My younger brother told me that my dad was really hurt after I left. It affected our relationship for a bit, but he eventually came around. He realized that I had every right to feel the way I did, considering our half-sister's behavior in the past. My dad and I had a long talk about it, and it was a relief to clear things up. Now we're back to our usual selves. My half-brother is still awesome too. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.